Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer, excuse me, 55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, I'm going to be reviewing the PC version of Shadow Warriors 2. Now, what I mean by PC version, I'm referring to the NVIDIA Geforce Now version on the iMac, which I've been playing this game on. It's also worth pointing out the game is also available on the PS4 and excuse me, and Xbox One. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description below, and you can check that out. When it comes to classic first-person shooters, though, the ones that pop into my mind the most are games like Wolfenstein and Doom, and to some degree also Duke Nukem. But there was also another one that also came out that was sort of a classic, but I never really got around playing. That was sort of Shadow Warriors. I believe it was made, although I could be wrong on this one, I believe it was made by the same folks who did the classic Duke Nukem games, to be exact. And it certainly did gain its following. And it was also kind of interesting when we learned that the publisher Devolver Digital would do a remake of the game, though. But unlike what happened with Duke Nukem Forever with Gearbox and how that became sort of a disaster, though, the first Shadow Warriors game, the remake one, actually did very well. And honestly, playing that game, it was fun. I mean, there were some of the controls I wasn't a really big fan of, or at least the approach that they were doing, but I thought it was just the story was just over the top, funny. I mean, the main character, and I can't believe I'm going to say his name, Lo Wang, is pretty much a walking dick joke, and it pretty much sums that up, though. But it was still a blast and still an enjoyable game to play. So it was kind of interesting when Geforce Now, when that came to was available to use on the iMac, though. I found it interesting that one of the games that were available was Shadow Warriors 2. So during a Steam sale, I bought that game, played it on my NVIDIA's GeForce Now on my iMac, the PC version, and honestly, it's a game that I wish I had gotten sooner, because it's actually a very fun first-person shooter in a way. It may not be as iconic on the way Doom and Wolfenstein is, but nevertheless, it is still an enjoyable enjoyable game, and it still has that Doom and Wolfenstein vibe to it as well. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons. We'll start off with the first one, which is the pros. And the first one I do want to talk about is the gameplay. In terms of the gameplay for Shadow Warriors 2, it plays kind of similar to that of, kind of gives off a little bit of a Borderlands-like vibe to it, though. While the visuals aren't going to look exactly like, what Borderlands is, though, the gameplay is kind of similar to a way, you have your weapons, which in this case you have, your melee weapons and your ranged weapons, like either a bow and arrow or a machine gun or a shotgun or an assault rifle. I use a shotgun and assault rifle in terms of my weapons, like those kind of stuff. And basically with those, you can also add like mods to it, or attachments, or gems in a way that add something to it, like it might add a burn skill to it, or a poison and all that stuff. So it adds a little bit of that. Plus, like Borderlands to a certain degree, you do level up in the game, and basically you get skill points which you can use to sort of upgrade, and I cannot believe I'm saying his name, but that's his name, Lo Wang, in terms of like certain things, like maybe enhance, say, like whenever you pick up med kits, they basically become more effective, or your weapons become more powerful, and so forth. So gameplay wise, it's very similar to like Borderlands, and it's certainly, to me, that is certainly a good thing. And while this game can be played in multiplayer, though, I've been playing it as a single player game, and I'm still enjoying it even as we speak. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is the story. And as way out there as the story is, I mean, it is over the top, and honestly, I think that's a good thing on all that stuff. I certainly am glad when a game adds a story, and I don't mind, but I also don't mind if they add something that is over the top, and Shadow Warriors 2 over the top is over the top, and there's no exception to that. I mean, you're going to hear a lot of, well, a lot of dick jokes in the game, and some of it are kind of funny as well, and Lo Wang in a certain way kind of comes off. I know this is going to sound inappropriate to some people though, but he does in a way comes off like a douche, but in a way that you still like the guy in a way. He isn't like an annoying or anybody like that, but either way, he still is an interesting character. The world and all that stuff is still interesting and all. So from the story point, it's over the top, but still enjoyable, and the humor in the game is good, at least from my perspective on that. And last but not least, I do want to talk about, being this is playing this off of NVIDIA Geforce Now on my iMac though, I will have to say it ran pretty well and all that stuff. Now, granted, being I'm playing this off of Geforce Now, a lot of this will depend on your connection, and depending on your Wi-Fi connection, you may have a good experience, you may have a terrible experience, or if you're using the Ethernet, you might have a better experience. My experience with this playing on the Wi-Fi has been pretty good though. I mean, yes, there has been some times when there is some stuttering here and there, but for the most part, the game ran well. It ran at 60 frames per second and so forth. The gameplay still remained spot on. So and it ran perfectly, ran all right, at least when it was running on Geforce Now. So as far as Shadow Warriors 2 running on Geforce Now, it ran well, at least for me. But again, a lot of that will depend on how solid your internet connection. Some people may, like I said before, some people may have a good experience with it. Some people may have a negative experience with it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and that is the con. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of the PC, or should I say, the NVIDIA PC version of Shadow Warriors 2, which I'm playing off of NVIDIA's Geforce Now, off of my iMac. So now that we gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are really only 2 cons I could think of as in regards of Shadow Warriors 2. We'll start off with the first one though, and that is the enemies. While I will say fighting these enemies can be fun and also challenging, not to mention to see the reaction of your main character Lo Wang give his sort of response when he defeats an enemy and so forth, I do feel sometimes though, the enemies can be cheap at times, especially when they sort of like gang up on you. Now, some of that could be based on the difficulty I'm playing of it. Some of it is because I'm playing it as a single player game, not having any of the multiplayer stuff. So there could be other factors, but I do feel that there are times that some of the enemies can be cheap at time, though. I mean, not like it makes the game unplayable or anything like that. There are ways to defeat certain enemies and so forth. It's just that sometimes the enemies can be a little bit cheap, and when they sort of gang up on you, especially when you're in backed into a corner, it can be frustrated at times. And last but not least, though, the game has to do, last thing I want to talk about is the humor. Now, as I mentioned before, I enjoyed the humor. I thought it was funny. I didn't have any problems with it. I didn't have a problem with them where it felt like it was like a dick joke every 5 seconds or anything like that. But I can understand humor is not going to sit with everyone, though. And that's going to really boil down to your taste and all that stuff. It's kind of similar to how I feel about South Park in general. South Park is certainly funny, controversial, but still funny. And there are some episodes that I thought that I remember that are like hilarious, though. That said, I understand I understand that South Park is not going to be for everyone. Some people are going to find the humor funny. Some of it may find it offensive. So it all really depends on your taste. So for me, though, I don't mind the humor in Shadow Warriors 2. I'm not offended by it or anything like this or anything like that. But I can understand why the humor may not be for everybody. overall, I will say Shadow Warriors 2, in my view, is a very fun first-person shooter, though. The gameplay is spot on and so forth, especially where I felt like gaming has a little bit of a Borderlands vibe to it, though. The story is so way out there and over the top. It's still enjoyable nevertheless. The humor is great and all that stuff. And playing this on my iMac via Geforce Now is definitely, it runs well, despite some of the things you might run into if you're playing this off of Wi-Fi. Some people may have good connections, some people may have bad connections. But again, like at times, I point out that the enemies can be cheap at times, but like I said before, doesn't make the game unplayable. It's just sometimes it can be cheap. And the humor, of course, is not going to be for everyone. Some people are going to find the humor in Shadow Warriors 2 funny. Some people won't. But in either way, I will say I am definitely having fun with Shadow Warriors 2 on PC via Geforce Now. Like I mentioned, Geforce Now on iMac. I just wish I learned about this game sooner, because I would have gotten the game when it came out and all that stuff. But better late than never. I definitely would be down if a Shadow Warriors 3 ever happens. That would be great. And while I certainly think this is going to be a long shot in some degree, I wouldn't mind if they were able to bring the remake of Shadow Warriors or Shadow Warriors 2, assuming it's technically possible, just like pointed out, assuming this is possible. I wouldn't mind if they bring these over to the Nintendo Switch. I mean, that would be great to be able to bring these games on the go. Whether that ever happens or not, who knows, all that stuff, but I certainly would be open to these games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Would love to see that happen, Devolver Digital. But overall, to me, Shadow Warriors 2 is a fun game to play, regardless of what your system of choice is. If you probably want, obviously the PC version will be the best version out there, but if you have NVIDIA's Geforce Now, whether it's on your PC, Android, NVIDIA Shield, or iMac, like I have though, then, and you like first-person shooters, I definitely would recommend Shadow Warriors 2. I think it is a fun game. I just wish, considering this game came out in 2016, I just wish I learned about this game sooner. Okay, this concludes my video review of Shadow Warriors 2 on PC via Geforce Now on iMac. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Shadow Warriors 2? Is it a game worth getting? Is it worth downloading on PC? Is it worth playing VI through Geforce Now? Is the PS4 or Xbox One version better? Do you like the idea of like a Borderlands-like gameplay? Do you think the story, do you like the story being over the top or not? Are you okay with the humor? You don't mind if it being like hearing like a dick joke every 5 seconds or not? Is it the type of game that interests you? Is it the type of game that doesn't interest you? Did you like what I said in this video? Did you not like what I said? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day. And of course, stay safe out there. And of course, I know I'm beating a dead horse. I may have said this before, but wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Hand sanitizers can be helpful, but should never be treated as a replacement for washing your hands. Bye!